So Andy's here with us. We thought we'd talk boxing. Wanted to start first with the Tyson Fury fight from a couple of weeks back. This was an amazing fight, really, to survive if you're Tyson Fury. Although you're the favourite, like heavy favourite, and you're supposed to win, when you find yourself in a situation where the cut is so bad and so deep, like it's surely something that you are taking out of that fight forever.
I think he's kind of shown that he can overcome adversity. I don't think he needed to prove that or even prove it to himself, that kind of way. In terms of, he's been knocked down several times. You saw the fight with Wilder, he was like completely flattened. But this was a fight he was favoured to win. And again, similar to Ruiz against Joshua, people maybe have underestimated or written off his opponent completely. But Wallin is a tough man, tough fighter. And he came to fight and he had a very good man in his corner in terms of Joey Gamache, who was two-weight world champion, and Wallin did, and it was a hard fight. But like, the cut changes everything, because up to that point, up to whatever it was, round 3 or 4 when the cut occurred, Fury was very much in control, and had the cut not happened, he probably would have boxed and been dominant for most of the going on for the fight. But because of the cut, he had to change his fight, take a different approach. But it really was a nasty cut, and it really puts a doubt on the proposed rematch with Wilder, which will be February 22nd.
So let's just play this, because we'll get to that in a minute. So I didn't know the rules actually here. So if it's a clash of heads and the fight gets stopped, it's a draw.
If it's deemed an accidental foul, like the cut was an accidental cut, whatever, it'll go to the scorecards after 4 completed rounds. So it was important for Fury to carry on winning, the rounds. And there was some confusion because in the corner that they weren't sure. It wasn't really clear was it deemed an accident or not.
If it's a punch, though.
If it's a punch, then
and the fight gets stopped.
Which sounds crazy, because say which it was deemed a punch, and the fight was stopped, and Fury had won 8 rounds. Otto Wallin would win the fight.
So if you cause stoppage of the fight because of a punch, you win.
Because of a punch.
Yeah.
Which sounds a bit wrong in some sense, doesn't it? I think it should always go to the scorecards, because
that would make the most sense, wouldn't it?
I guess it's kind of thing like, I actually, like you said, I've caused this to stop. It's like a knockout in a sense, but and I would say that if this is not Fury in Vegas on a top-ranked card, anybody else would be stopped.
And maybe it didn't get stopped because of that rule where if it is a punch. So the Fury corner, you could hear this, where like, oh look, don't worry about it, just keep winning the rounds, then if they stop the fight, it was accidental, it's not going to matter. But ESPN, who were covering the fight, went and checked with the Nevada Commission, who reviewed tape, and I think we can hear the audio of this.
I didn't know this.
We can have a listen to this now, I think.
And now there's a golden opportunity to hit the jackpot. Let's go back to Bernardo.
Ben, what is the impression of Tyson in terms of the position of the cut, and was it a headbutt or a punch?
Jorge's dealing with the cut. It's been deemed as a headbutt, so the referee's told me. We did make the referee aware of that before.
Actually, it's been deemed a punch. The Nevada State Athletic Commission saw the replay, and they deemed it to be a clean punch. How does that change the outlook?
What's that, sorry?
Here we go. It's a punch. It was a clean punch due to the replay. How does that change the way you guys look at the situation?
Well, obviously Tyson's got to deal with it. He's got plenty of art, as he's shown before, so hopefully the referee gives him, understands that, and keeps him in the fight. But Tyson's dealing with it okay. He can box, he can see, so don't see why it should be a problem.
He seems to be pawing at it. How distracted is he, and how long till he gets back on track?
There's a little bit. He's on track. Even though he's been cut, he's still winning them rounds.
Thank you very much, Ben.
Stop. So you see the confusion, because at first...
Yeah, so you do see the confusion. That's like the middle of the fight. They're like, it's grand, don't worry about it. It's like, no, hang on a second.
I was commentating on the fight, and I thought, oh yeah, just going off listening to the corner.
Yeah.
Because the referee never really made it clear, which they usually do. They were like...
I'd say he didn't know, did he?
I don't think so. I think maybe by listening to that, the Nevada board overruled him and said that, because there's this thing, VAR is creeping its way into boxing now. Recently there was a fighter, I can't think of his last name. I think it was Ruiz, who beat Charlie Edwards. This is like flyweights in London. Charlie Edwards was the champion. This guy came over, Ruiz from Mexico. No entourage, little guy on his own. But stops Charlie Edwards, knocks him down. While Charlie Edwards is on the floor, he hits him a body shot.
Right.
It was clear foul, but they announced the winner. Ruiz, he gets the belt, he's celebrating, he does a post-fight interview, Edwards does a post-fight interview, and then WBC come in and say that everywhere else in the world we have VAR, and I've reviewed this and I'm going to judge it a no contest.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was a really strange one because they overruled with the British Boxing Board of Control, and then Edwards is in the ring, having lost, given like his kind of condolences and his kind of concession, you know, and then he's celebrating again because he hasn't lost his belt, and it was kind of weird. But yeah, just back to Fury, like I thought he fought really well. It was interesting because Fury's dad was in London in the BT Sports doing punditry in the studio of BT Sports, and he was criticising Tyson's team in terms of his coaching and the people around him. And he said that if I was Tyson, I'd get rid of all of those guys because it's going to cost him his career. He looked weak as water, and pointed to the fact that Tyson had lost too much weight. He
lost a load of weight, didn't he?
Yeah, it's just the lightest he's been since he fought Klitschko.
Right.
But he's lost a huge amount of weight, obviously, because he blew up and was completely out of shape in that period of those 3 years where he was away from boxing. So it's an interesting time for him. Can he recover? Will his eye heal in time for him to make the rematch with Wilder, which, if you listen to him, is signed and sealed, you know. Wilder has a fight. It's still not announced. A lot of speculation that it won't happen now. He's supposed to have a rematch of Luis Ortiz, which is a very dangerous fight. It's supposed to be in November, but it's not been announced yet. And looking at what happened to Joshua and looking at what happened to Tyson with the cut, he might just say,
there's no point.
Yeah, pass that, give that a pass. But interesting time for Tyson. But regardless of all that, it was actually a really great fight. Vannon played his part and made it entertaining, and actually hurt Tyson legitimately in the last round.
Yeah.
And Tyson showed that he can win ugly and gut it out. And a horrible, like, you can just on a practical level, fighting with him for, like, you can't, with one vision in one eye and you're losing blood. And
did you get cut much?
Several times. Yeah. It's always impedes you, you know, in some way. Yeah.
I like, did you just get better at fighting with it, or did you never get better at fighting with it? It's like,
you learn how to avoid them and where to put your head in clinches.
Right.
But there's like an instance in this fight, and I don't know, it's done the rounds on Twitter and stuff, where the guy actually, while he's cut, puts his, like, the inside of his glove into Fury's eye and rubs it like that, you know, and it was a nasty. Your man was quite dirty.
Yeah.
But Fury really did the business and did really well, so hopefully he can heal up and we'll get that super fight.
We know America, like, you have to knock people out and you're supposed to be keeping doing that, but for whatever reason, maybe Tyson Fury is at that stage of his career where no matter what happens, he's still going to be a big draw in America. Yeah,
well, he did it last time, you know, and that was important, especially on his debut in America. Well, it wasn't his debut, but his debut in Vegas and on ESPN. And I think with the cut, it kind of puts, you know, I think people would give him a pass. It was a really entertaining fight. And
yeah, there's blood and guts. People are happy.
Love to see that.
Are you not entertained?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it's all going well. Like this American kind of, I wouldn't say experiment, but this period of his career is going to plan, it seems.
47 stitches to clean it up. So, like, I don't know how long that takes to heal, but like, the plastic surgery these days is good. They should be able to buy. What are we at?
It's always going to be a weakness, though, for now, because there's going to be scar tissue there, which is always going to be weaker than actual, you know, normal skin.
Yeah. So if you're the Wilder camp right now, you're like practicing how to hit him in the eye.
I don't know if it's going that much, but if you're in the clinches, yeah, definitely put your head,
practice
get your head
in
there.
Yeah. It'd probably be easier to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So where is that at the minute? Like, do you think that there is still 3 fighters at the same level, or has Anthony Joshua gone from that conversation until he reasserts himself?
It'll be interesting to see how his rematch goes, how it plays out. You could probably put Ruiz in the mix with him, maybe, right. And Lewis. It's all about styles, isn't it? And the old cliche, styles make fights. But like Joshua, if he's confident if he regains his confidence, I don't think he needs to change much as a fighter. Yeah, he could beat the other two, and they could beat him, or they could have a situation where one beats one and one beats the other, but the other fella, just how they all latch up. They're all big enough, well, especially Wilder and Joshua are big enough punches to end anyone's night with one punch.
Yeah.
So that's always an equalizer. But Fury is the best pure boxer out of the three of them, and if he can stay focused for 3 minutes a round, we'll box every one of them.
Is it possible that Joshua is just not as hungry as he needs to be?
Possibly. That, like, you look at these, like, his preparation for the Ruiz fight, I'm sure it's going to be completely different. Like, the amount of demand on him for that fight to promote it being in New York, his US debut.
Yeah.
He was doing like interviews, and the fight was secondary. He thought, you could see in his demeanor and his attitude that he thought he just had to turn up and beat him, and he almost did. He almost did. He had him down and hurt, and then he comes back, goes in for the kill, and gets caught himself. So it's a fine balance. We could be talking about him having an easy win against Ruiz, and
this issue doesn't arise.
One punch and how it changes.
And so maybe the setback isn't the worst thing for him at this stage of his career?
Yeah, but it does put a lot of doubts, and look, he can't afford another loss. If he loses to Ruiz, it's kind of writings on the wall, isn't it? In terms of him being at that level, and in terms of being this huge selling kind of machine, which he had become.
Yeah, and in fairness, that's the bit about the hunger. It's like, I've already made 40 to 60 million in my life. Like, that's probably enough for somebody who started out going, maybe I'm going to make it, maybe I'm not. I don't even know the sport very well. Like, it's hard to maintain that. One last thing, Golovkin's fighting in a couple of weeks, and Errol Spence Jr. next weekend. They're kind of the next big things on the radar.
Those are like proper big fights, like real boxing. Spence against Porter. Two of the best welterweights in the world. Spence is in for a shout of being, well, he's not up there, but he's definitely in the top 10, maybe top 7 best fighters in the world, and he should beat Porter. He's just probably too young and too much for him. And then Golovkin versus Derevchenko, which is an interesting fight, because Golovkin at this stage has to prove that he's still elite, still in the top 5 in the world. And Derevchenko will be a test. It will be a test. So, interesting times. Okay, well, we might talk to you about them a bit closer to the time as well. I think we can head over to Hamamatsu in Japan, where Owen is hanging out. Obviously, that's where the Ireland team are ahead of the game against Japan this weekend. We're going to hear from the Irish press conference in a couple of minutes' time with Farrell and Kilcoyne are the two who are up today.